Hello, everyone. I have a huge treat for you. And let me tell you, I have the amazing, wonderful Florence Callender with me today. And let me tell you a little bit about Florence. This is one of the many reasons that I love Florence. We met in a coaching program together, and Florence and I have very similar backgrounds. We're former educators. We've been in the education world. And I will always say, and I know, Florence, you got to agree with me, any great educator can become an entrepreneur and soar at it, right? Like
Yep.
you have those skills. But Florence helped so many families and individual students that have dyslexia and really navigating different ways of learning. And she has now translated that into the business world. So, Florence, you've made a recent pivot, and I want you to tell us about this pivot and how you're helping business owners and executives make more money.
Yes, it is such a pleasure to be here, Alyssa. I am always excited when I meet other educators, and especially educators who transition into entrepreneurship, because then I feel like I'm not alone. I don't have to have this imposter syndrome here because there are other people doing what I'm doing. So, yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Now, what I realized after helping my daughter, who was struggling in the second grade, go improve every year until she graduated valedictorian, I realized that the problem was communication. The instructions that I was giving her, that the teachers were giving her, were not being communicated in a way that her brain processed it best. And once I hit on that, bingo, light opened and the world was her oyster.
Yeah.
Now, what happened afterwards, when she grew up and she was in the world of work, and we would have these discussions, and she was telling me about the owner of the association she worked with, how he would give instructions and everyone would sit in the meetings, no one would ask questions, but afterwards they would be talking among themselves, what are we supposed to do? And then there were projects that were delayed, work had to be redone. And it hit me one day. These people, these adults, were once children sitting in classrooms who they learned differently. No one ever figured that out, and no one helped them. They didn't get the support that they needed. And so there were people navigating the world of work, sitting in audiences who were having difficulty processing what was being communicated to them. And so I came to the understanding that the message you put out is not as important as how it is received. And as a speaker, I am in the community with speakers all the time. And so I began listening to how people were speaking, my colleagues, and I realized they're not reaching everyone. The way they're speaking is how they are processing. Because when someone would ask a question, they would answer without even rephrasing. They would give the same thing, just repeat what they said before, maybe slower. And that's what got me thinking, I need to help my own people. People who are on stages, on podcasts, having summits, doing workshops and trainings. I need to help them speak in a way that everyone in the audience can understand. That way they're equipped to make a better choice and decide, oh, okay, yes, I want to work with her because she's talking about what I need. That's what made me make that switch. So now anyone who speaks to attract clients, I am able to equip them with brain-friendly communication so that more people in the audience can say yes, because now they're reaching every type of listener.
Yeah. And Florence, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because even as educators, we are taught just because you teach it doesn't mean they've learned it. Like your audience has learned it, your students have learned it. And having clarity around that communication is so powerful. People are losing money because they're not communicating appropriately. And I know that you've said before, in a lot of our conversations that it's not just charisma. Charisma is what is going to convert from this stage. That it really is that clarity. And so I want you thinking of the business owners that are watching this, the executives that are watching this, the speakers that are watching this. What is one silent killer of conversions that most speakers ignore?
The silent killer is what I call the audience, the applause gap.
Oh,
The applause gap. So imagine a speaker who just delivered a talk to a packed room. People are nodding, they're laughing, they're taking notes. At the end, they may even stand up and applaud. So the speaker goes home thinking, wow, that was great. I knocked it out of the ballpark. That's going to bring me some clients. But then the next morning, nothing. 3 days later, nothing, still no clients, no new clients. So the big question is, how can a talk feel so successful in a room but fail to turn listeners into clients? What most people assume the problem is they change. So the speaker might say, I need to change my clothes. I need to make a better offer, or I need to get more confidence. But often that's not the real issue. The real issue is that people enjoyed the talk in the moment.
Yeah.
The emotion was there, but they didn't understand the message clearly enough to buy. So the applause gap is the gap between the audience enjoyment and the audience conversion.
Yeah.
Because, applause tells you people like the experience. It doesn't prove that they received information and their brain needed to trust you, to understand your value, and to buy from you.
Yeah.
And this is where many speakers lose clients without even realizing it.
They really do, Florence. And I think, a place where I have failed in the past, before I learned how to strategically communicate, was I wasn't having my audience make tiny micro decisions throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't doing a good job of ensuring that my audience was truly grasping what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't communicating it in a way that made them say, yes, yes, yes. And so I want you to, really thinking of all of the people that you've worked with in the past, the business owners, the executives, what is actually happening inside a listener's brain during a talk that determine whether or not they should take action, whether they should buy from you?
That is such an important question, because most people assume listeners are all hearing the same talk, but they're not.
Yeah.
Because usually we are speaking the way we process information. So picture with me two speakers. They're on the same stage. They have the same topic and they have the same energy. But one walks away with 3 new clients and the other one walks away with a video clip and a few compliments, no clients. So they're in the same room, they have the same audience, they have the same offer. So why do they get completely different results? That's because even though most people guess, oh, it must have been my confidence or the charisma, stronger clothes, maybe a better stage presence, that's not it. The gap remains, because when what one speaker did to earn the yes, the other one did something different and earned appreciation. And that wasn't in their delivery. It's in how the message landed. Remember earlier I said, what I came to realize is what's more important than how I deliver the message is how it is received. That's because there are 4 completely different communication processing styles in every audience. Every listener is silently asking within themselves a different question. So for the analytical thinker, the question is, can you prove it? Show me the evidence. Then we have the practical thinker who is asking, how does this work? Show me the steps. I need a roadmap. And the relational thinker is asking, will this work for me? Show me people like me. They're very emotional about it. And then you have the visionary thinker who is asking themselves, well, what is possible? Kind of show me where this leads. So the speaker who converts builds 4 different on ramps into their message. Every brain finds its entry point. And the others, even though they're brilliant, they only build 1 on ramp. And so up to 3/4 of the room couldn't find the door, because the listener's brain is still scanning for the kind of information that they need to feel clear enough to say yes. So when they don't get the answer the brain is looking for, they don't raise their hand, they don't ask questions, they don't say, excuse me, my processing style was not served. No, they just delay. they just delay. They might tell you something like, oh, that was really good. Or if you ask, well, are you ready to move on? I'll think about it. Or they'll tell you, I'll check out your website later. Can I have your business card? But you know what happens to delayed decisions? They often become lost decisions.
They do, 100%.
Yeah.
You want them in that moment to be like, yes. And I love, Florence, how you mentioned, I mean, it's just include the 4 different strategies inside your signature talk. And it doesn't mean you have to have 4 different talks.
Exactly.
You just weave in, like for the person that is, show me the evidence that it works. Show a client testimonial. Mm-hmm. You know, will this work? I want to know the possibilities. Have them vision cast. Show them what the future is. Easy ways that you can include all 4 thinking types into your speech.
Yep.
It's doable. I love this. Now, you had mentioned earlier about like the applause gap. So we all like applause. We all have an ego. So we enjoy the applause. But if we shouldn't measure a talk by how people felt in the room, what should we actually measure it by? And how do we design a message that actually sticks?
This is so important because a lot of speakers accidentally fool themselves with applause.
Yeah.
When they finish their talk, they feel, oh, I'm so amazing. The chat was full of comments like game changer. I needed this today. This was so powerful. You know, the kind of comments you get and the affirming comments you get in the chat when you do a talk on Zoom.
They're
and
so
people
good.
were clapping and giving jazzy hands and complimenting. Yeah. And so, you know, a lot of times we think, oh, that worked. And then 3 weeks later, you realize, wait, they loved it. What happened? How comes no one has converted yet into my clients? So what most speakers do is that they make assumptions and they feel that applause is everything. But applause measures reaction in the moment. Conversion measures understanding. Applause only tells you how people felt in the room. It doesn't tell you whether your message was clear enough to travel with them after they left. So what I teach speakers is to measure 3 things instead: clarity, retention, and action.
Okay.
And when I talk about clarity, what I mean is, can they repeat your core idea accurately? What was the one thing you wanted them to take away from your talk? Can they repeat it? If someone says, what was that talk all about? Can they say in 1 sentence what it was about? Retention means, can they remember it tomorrow? So they may have loved it in the moment, but did the message stick enough for them to remember it tomorrow? And by action, I mean, do they know what the next step is? Do they know what you want them to do, which is to work with you? Because inspiration without direction usually disappears.
Yeah. That's such a powerful quote. Inspiration without direction disappears. Like, business owners, I want you to listen in on that right now. You need your audience to take action. But before you can get them to take action, you need to make sure that there was clarity and retention. Ensure that is in your signature talk, your workshop, your masterclass, whatever it is that you're giving. Oh my gosh, Florence, I love this. Now, I do want to say, speaking of action, we want everyone in here to take some action today because you have a fabulous gift for my audience. I'm so excited that you're sharing this with them. Tell us what it is.
I have a 3-minute quiz. So if you answer the question, if I ask you, can your listeners repeat your core idea? Can they remember it and respond to it? If you cannot categorically say yes, then you can audit or measure your message structure in the brain. It's a brain-friendly message score. It takes you through, I want to say, 15 questions, and the questions ask you about your talk. Your answers will tell you whether your talk is reaching one or all of the message, the processing styles in your audience. And so that's what the quiz is all about. By the end, and you get your results right away. It takes about 3 minutes to do. You get the results right away, and you know what you need to fix in your message. So the next time you talk, you can tweak it and see the difference.
Yeah, this is a no-brainer, everyone. Everyone who's listening, who's watching this, you need to download this quiz. You need to take the quiz, share it with your other entrepreneur friends, because here's the deal. Why would you not? Why would you not audit your signature talk, your workshop, your masterclass, your 2-minute talk, whatever it is, to ensure that it's going to make you money? So I want everyone to go into the show notes. I'm going to drop it in the show notes. You have immediate access. I also have every way that you can follow Florence, but you need to download this quiz because here's the deal. If your talk is not meeting all learners in the audience, you're not going to make money. You're leaving money on the table. Florence is going to help you with that. Now, Florence, before we leave, any last words of wisdom that you have for the audience today?
Yes. The biggest communication mistake that speakers make is assuming people heard what they said. Message conversion happens when you structure your message so every brain in your audience gets it.
Yes, I love that, Florence. Thank you so much for being here. It's so wonderful to see your face. And Florence, where can people follow you?
They can follow me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
That's where I hang out most of the time.
Her handle is going to be in the show notes as well. And as always, it was a pleasure. Everyone, have a wonderful day. Go out there, make money, convert from the stage, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Alisa.